There are a lot of fans still of the Quartz, which is a MIDI controller slash really a MIDI clock that you can override tempo, both to pedals that have MIDI and to pedals that do not have MIDI but have a tempo in. And there's a whole bunch of other things it does, but this is really kind of the main feature list of this pedal that people tend to buy it for. But there is one mistake I see people making when they're using a MIDI clock, and that is the order of their MIDI chain. A lot of times people will run their Quartz MIDI controller and clock into a standalone MIDI controller. Today that is going to be an MC6 by Morningstar. And then after that into the rest of their MIDI pedals, a synesthesia, a timeline, a big sky. That is the MIDI chain for our example today that we did on Douglas's board a couple of years back. Now I'm going to tell you why we reorder this so you can get more functionality out of your pedal board just by thinking through the chain of events in your MIDI chain. Normally we talk about signal chain, today it's MIDI chain. What we would normally do here is we would go not Quartz MC6 MIDI pedals. We would go MC6 Quartz, then into your MIDI pedals. The reason being is you would typically set up your presets, your MIDI presets on your MC6 Pro. Then you are going to run that information from your MC6 Pro to the Quartz and recall any song-specific tempos and presets on the Quartz. And then you'll also pass that MC6 info onto the rest of your MIDI pedals. There's a couple of things you can do here. Firstly, you can run a clock from your MC6 Pro, bypass the Quartz, and then onto your pedals. That's option one, but we set it up even a little differently than this. We go MC6 Pro, turn off the clock. Do not run a MIDI clock on your MC6 Pro. Then we go into the Quartz. This is your MIDI clock for the whole board, MIDI pedals and non-MIDI pedals. What we're gonna do here is get the MC6 Pro to recall a preset on the Quartz. This could be tempo specific or song specific. From there, we are gonna run those tempos to the rest of your MIDI pedals. This way you can have your clock coming from your Quartz, and if the drummer were to get off track, I know it never happens, but if it were hypothetically to happen that the drummer got off track, you have your Quartz there without a conflicting clock on the MC6 Pro. You have your Quartz there where you can override that tempo and switch to a tapped in tempo to follow the drummer now that you are off tracks. This way you have a clock that is preset and can be overridden with the Quartz that also sends to your MIDI and non-MIDI pedals for tempo. A time that this specifically came in handy for me was a while back now. There was a song released from Hillsong called Oceans, and at that point I lived in Sydney, I was playing in Hillsong, and Oceans in the bridge slows down its tempo once you hit that bridge progression. And so what I was able to do was program in a new tempo on the Quartz, send to my pedals that did not have MIDI and correct their tempo, send to the pedals that did have MIDI, correct their tempo, and I was able to do this very easily on the Quartz. Some of you might be thinking, why don't you just do this all on your MIDI controller? You definitely can do a lot of this on your MIDI controller depending on its specs. The Quartz adds in one big screen dedicated to tempo, song name, and I always put in the key of the song as well. And then also gives you a dedicated switch for overriding. Depending on your MIDI controller, you can do a lot of this on the controller itself. But if you're running out of switches, you want a dedicated screen, you have analog pedals that don't have MIDI control but still need tempo, Quartz can be a really good way to move things forward. Nowadays, the Quartz is no longer in production, unfortunately. There are other versions and variations, but they don't have the feature list that the Quartz has. We need someone to build a Quartz equivalent that can handle both non-MIDI tempo and MIDI tempo all in the same controller. Let me know if you guys have any preferences out there that can do MIDI. This is the big one. And we will go from there. I'll see you guys in the comments with your suggestions. Would love to hear any thoughts you have on this one.